On January 6, 2016, at the largest shopping mall in the capital city of Jakarta, Indonesia, a poisoning case that killed a close friend shocked the public. What was even more shocking was the reason behind this tragic event, which originally stemmed from a piece of advice to break up with a lover. On January 6, 2016, Jessica Kumala Wongso, 27 years old, went to Grand Indonesia Mall to meet an old friend. She arranged to meet her friend at 5 p.m. in a cafe inside the shopping center. However, strangely, she had already arrived at the meeting spot at 3:32 p.m. to 90 minutes earlier than the agreed time. When she got to the cafe, Jessica looked around the store, then sat down at a table near the entrance. After that, she kept looking around as if searching for something, then suddenly stood up and walked out of the cafe around 4:04 p.m. About 40 minutes later, Jessica returned to the cafe carrying 3 bags. Once again, Jessica walked around the cafe, but this time she carefully chose a table hidden behind a potted plant. After sitting down and settling in, Jessica began to look up at the surveillance camera before slowly placing the 3 bags on the table. A few minutes later, Jessica walked to the counter and ordered 3 drinks, 2 cocktails and 1 iced coffee. Strangely, she had ordered drinks for her friend even though the meeting time was still more than half an hour away. At 4:24 p.m., the server brought the drinks to Jessica's table. Surprisingly, she deliberately used her bags to cover the 3 drinks, then continued staring at the surveillance camera as if making sure the drinks were completely hidden behind the shopping bags. At this moment, Jessica was harboring a plan even more terrifying than we could imagine. At 4:25 p.m., Jessica's friends, Mirna and Juwita, arrived at the meeting spot, sat down at the table, and started chatting. Jessica told Mirna that she had ordered iced coffee, Mirna's favorite, and told her to drink it soon so it wouldn't melt. Mirna was acting differently at the time, so she drank the iced coffee without suspicion. As soon as Mirna took her first sip, she realized something was wrong, grimaced, and said it tasted strange, then turned to Juwita to try it. Juwita looked confused but only touched the tip of the straw with her tongue without drinking a drop. Still puzzled by the odd taste of the coffee, Mirna looked back at Jessica and asked her to try it too. But Jessica firmly refused. No one expected that right after, a terrifying incident involving the 3 girls would begin. Mirna started trembling and coughing repeatedly. Seeing her friend like that, Juwita ran to the counter to report the iced coffee to the staff before she could finish explaining the situation. Mirna, who was beside her, began foaming at the mouth and collapsed on the spot. Juwita panicked and rushed to shake Mirna awake, while the entire cafe erupted into chaos over the sudden murder. Meanwhile, Jessica just sat quietly nearby, watching with a satisfied smile that terrified everyone. A little while later, an ambulance arrived at the scene and took Mirna to a hospital about a 5-minute drive from the shopping center. Despite the doctor's best efforts to save her, Mirna died at 6:30 p.m. before reaching the hospital. On January 9, 2016, 3 days after Mirna's death, the police, through the autopsy report, found a quantity of cyanide in Mirna's body. At the same time, the investigation report also confirmed that there was cyanide in the iced coffee Mirna had drunk. In addition, after extracting data from the cafe's surveillance cameras, the police discovered Jessica's suspicious behavior and identified her as the main suspect in the case, with the sole evidence being the cyanide found in the coffee. On January 30, 2016, the police detained Jessica. From that point on, the dark truth behind the relationship between the 2 friends gradually began to unfold. Jessica, Mirna, and Juwita were close friends while studying at Billy Blue Design School, one of Australia's prestigious design schools. After graduating, Mirna moved to Jakarta with her boyfriend, Arif Somarko, while Jessica became an Australian citizen and planned a new life in Sydney with her parents. Although the 2 girls lived far apart, one in Sydney, Australia, and the other in Jakarta, Indonesia, they maintained their relationship by texting and exchanging emails every day. In October 2014, Mirna returned to Australia to see her friends one last time before getting married and settling permanently in Jakarta. Upon arriving in Sydney, Mirna contacted Jessica and arranged to have dinner together. During that meeting, Jessica confided in her close friend Mirna that she was heartbroken because of her boyfriend. Feeling deeply sorry for Jessica, Mirna advised her to break up, promising to introduce her to someone better. However, this misplaced kindness would cost Mirna a very high price, her own life. On December 5, 2015, Jessica left Sydney, Australia, and went to Jakarta. After arriving, she sent messages to Mirna and Juwita, her remaining close friend, saying she wanted to meet them to reminisce about old times, but did not specify a location. On January 6, 2016, Jessica sent a message saying she was currently at Grand Indonesia Mall, and what happened next is what you already know. The three friends met, and Mirna tragically died in public, shocking many people. To gather more information about Jessica, the police contacted the Australian Federal Police and requested documents related to her. The Australian government agreed to provide the documents on the condition that Indonesia would not execute their citizen. The Indonesian police accepted this and received the documents from Australian authorities to investigate Jessica's motive. Through this, the Indonesian police found records showing that Jessica had previously been charged with drunk driving and was under a restraining order from her ex-boyfriend due to past assault offenses. At the same time, through statements from Jessica's colleagues, the police learned that Jessica normally deeply resented Mirna, her close friend who often gave advice and cared for her. Jessica believed that all her failures in life were because of Mirna. On June 15, 2016, 6 months after Mirna's death, the prosecutor requested the death penalty for Jessica. However, due to the prior agreement between the Indonesian police and the Australian Federal Police, in October 2016, Jessica was sentenced to 20 years in prison for murdering her friend. Although Jessica tried to appeal and claimed she was innocent, her appeal was rejected. Jessica has been imprisoned in an Indonesian prison to this day. Many people still shudder when they recall the cold, cruel expression of the killer that day after murdering Mirna. No one can understand how Jessica could be so cruel as to kill a friend who had cared for her deeply. Without a moment's hesitation,